Sadashivasamarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Beda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Om Shanti 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 Om Shwara Namaste. Welcome back to the Gita, chapter 13, page 2349. We have seen in our previous class the very end of that list of virtues, which was referred to as Jñanam, virtues, qualifications. And towards the end of that long list of virtues, we have seen the last one. Alone, we are born alone, we are going to die alone. Journey, non-attachment, absence of attachment. Okay. So it all begins with ahamkara mamakara. So we identify with the body, and then we say my body, and then immediately we establish my associations, and then when you associate too closely with something, that thing becomes an extension or an accessory of ourselves, such as a pair of glasses. It becomes an extension, an accessory. And so the body is our primary association, and through the body we extend association with other things and other people. And then sometimes we lose it, and we come to the extreme of seeing that the other belongs to me, the same way we see this body belongs to me. But then when we are asked to inquire, see, where did I purchase this body, or how did I manufacture this body? How did I make this body? Because we have things either by buying the raw material and making it, or by purchasing it. No, it was clearly given to us by a certain intelligence, supreme power, and we miss it, we oversee it, we just we believe in the ahamkara, and then we become over attached. And then we saw this thing about attachments in general, they cannot be completely avoided, and but they can be minimized to larger and larger extents. Can anyone say something? Can you say something, Lim? Say hi. You or Mark?
Hello.
Okay, just that I have you on the screen.
Okay.
So we have seen that our human nature makes it almost impossible that we don't have small attachments, but the discrimination between extreme attachments and natural small attachments that can be managed makes a big difference. And Shankaracharya apparently wrote a text on this viveka, discriminating the regular, normal human attachments with over-attachment. Over-attachment is synonymous of total dependence. And when you depend on something, and if you lose that thing, you crash. And then the mind is destroyed somehow. So we have seen it in our previous class, concluding with that list of qualifications or virtues that brings us to the edge of in between self-ignorance and self-knowledge. So it's self-knowledge is already established on a intellectual level, and then the intellectual self-knowledge is there and just waiting for a certain degree of development of this qualification by which this knowledge, which is indirect, becomes direct self-knowledge. So therefore, we have to somehow cultivate these qualifications, these virtues, by understanding, by observing the anti-virtues we have and why we are not having those virtues yet established, and why I need these virtues. Not that I go around showing up to people can see how virtuous I am, is because I want to have a contemplative mind to get self-knowledge and properly assimilate and internalize, because I want to be free from samsara, from these constant problems, no human suffering. Because as we know, attachment will definitely give grief. We should never forget that. Desire brings about running towards something. And then if you get something, you run into a second level of problem, which is how to keep it. At that point, you're already pretty much attached to that thing. You don't want to lose it. And and there is a fine line between that extreme attachment with dependence, because they are almost like two sides of the same coin. So bottom line is, let's not allow the mind to run wildly, establishing hardwired attachments that is going to become dependence, which is going to bring great suffering when we lose that object of attachment. It reminds me of my first teacher, guru from the 80s. Uh, he used to tell many stories, and I heard so many of his stories. Most of his stories I heard because I was looking for the books and looking for the videos and the audios. I was a little bit fanatic at the time, and he tells us the story of him going to live with his grandparents. For some reason, I don't remember the details. His parents gave him to the grandparents so that they could bring him up. And he says it was the best blessing of his life. He has total love and freedom. And he developed so much love to his grandparents. And then he was totally attached to his grandfather. And his grandfather had an illness and died on his laps. So he was sick. In those days, there were no car. He was living a farm, and then he had to take the bull. I forgot the name of that. The bull cart. And then somebody was driving the bull, and the grandfather was on his lap, and it was dark, it was night, and the grandfather died on his lap. And he was very young, he was a child still. He said that the suffering was so big that immediately he established a very clear understanding, connection, or viveka, discrimination, discernment. He said, I will never again allow myself to be attached to anything or anyone, because this is a setup for suffering. So when it comes from understanding, connecting the dots, connecting the dots. And at early age, he got that viveka. So like life is a train journey. Be careful with associations that become addictive or dependencies and so on, because it's a recipe for suffering. So the closest the people are for us, bigger is the potential for attachment. So there is a part here. The next virtue is nityam samachittatvam, which gives us the essence of karma yoga. So, did you translate this one? This nityam samachittatvam istanisto, or it's coming next? Because I read it briefly today.
It says, it's from the second chapter, obviously. Be steadfast in the performance of your duty, O Arjuna, abandoning attachment to success and failure. Such equanimity is called yoga.
Yeah. So that's why he says this is the essence of karma yoga. Be steadfast in your. Can you repeat once again?
In your performance of your duty,
Okay.
O Arjuna, abandoning attachment to success and failure.
That's wonderful. So we are designed to interact as jivas, no? And we have to be very wise and observing the way we interact, respecting Dharma and taking the results as prasada, so that we do not develop false expectations and we do not suffer. So no attachments, no binding attachments. Krishna tells Ista means favorable situation, sama chitatvam. Anista means unfavorable situations. We know the story. When things Parabhada arrives, arrival. So we have to be free from the opposite pair, the duality, favorable and unfavorable. So favorable situation is going to make us feel as if we are a successful jiva, People people are so blind somehow, the ego blinds people sometimes in a way that there is no surgery to overcome this blindness. Some people they get very, very proud and vain only because they fell in love with someone or found a beautiful partner. And now, oh, look, oh, my partner, oh, so beautiful. Look at me, now I have probably whom I'm referring to. The ego somehow trips in such a way, it's a total blindness for any little thing. It's going to feel like elation. I say, oh, now look at me, I'm so happy. I fell in love again. Elation, so freedom from elation when things are making you happy. Freedom from depression when things are not really making you happy anymore. So the wise one is the one that is never going to experience neither of these two extremes. It's just like, okay, things are favorable like now, but it's gonna pass. Therefore I don't get overexcited with punya, and I don't get over depressed or unhappy with papa. We say life is just about punya papa, papa punya papa. We have to make a song about that. Overexcitement in both situations. In a happy situation also, do not allow yourself to be carried away. Every situation is temporary. So we know the situation. This means equanimity. This means karma yoga, accepting what comes as prasada, understanding Ishvara system, knowing that Punya Papa are the tools by which Ishvara presents us with situations by which I can reorient my life or learn some lessons. I mean, this life is a school, and we our it's almost as we have to pay for this school. We pay the currency here is punya papa, you know. So we're gonna get favorable situations, and then okay, wow, I'm spending my punya now. Look what Shwara is sending me now, you know. And later on, so bad situations are come, and I say, okay, so now I'm just paying my papa. I pay how? What is the currency here? We're suffering, you know, suffering. So situations come and go. Even the worst situation will pass, as we know. Learn to live without complaint. So I'm still reminding us of the bad situation in England. I mean, Italy, you know, in India has become so developed in the past 30 years since Swami uh, delivered these teachings 25 years ago or 27. So nowadays, maybe the roads are not so bad in India anymore, but on those days it was terrible. Even 10 years ago was still terrible in the countryside. But we don't know about today. But I don't know. But he's saying that learn to live with things as they are. Don't live a life complaining about things you cannot change. You know, be comfortable even when the roads are terrible, when the social social establishment is no good, when there is poverty, when there is lack of infrastructure. So get used to it. He says very get used to it, you know. There's no point of complaining. Huh? If you like it or not, learn to be okay with it. Maintain equanimity. And then Swam again, very honestly, which is a language which is different from the yogi language. You know, the yoga language presents freedom or moksha as a mental state which does not change, you know, which is basically samadhi. But for samadhi, in that sense, you need to do sadhana to maintain that state. Vedanta talks about a state that does not require sadhana because once you really understood the nature of Sagunishwara and the nature of Nirguna Brahman as your very nature, and then that is going to pacify your mind, not making it stable or without any modification. The mind is going to modify, but just a little bit. But at least you are free from sadhana of maintenance. With yoga, you have to do maintenance sadhana all the time to keep a certain state. Okay, so the language of Vedanta is more in these lines, without exaggeration, without presenting moksha as a state in which there is no modification. You know, Swami says not that the mind will not be disturbed ever at all. He says we are human beings. Okay, we are not machines. Mind will modify here and there. Okay, when there is unfavorable, very difficult situation, mind may modify because we are not robots. But it will not be a violent modification, and you're going to recover right away because you have the knowledge. You know, you bring the mind back into check and they say, come on, mind, I know, I understand your nature. You like what you like and you don't like what you don't like, but behave. You understood the game. I have subject you to the teachings of the sacred scriptures, and you learned it. Therefore, behave it. Behave it right away. Okay? And then the yani recompose itself and say, that's all right. That's absolutely all right. So it means that the modification of the mind are manageable, small disturbance, which are manageable. They will not be violent, carrying away disturbance. So make these modifications manageable, manageable disturbances. How to do that, Krishna does not say, but Kama Yoga tells everything about that. Kama Yoga is the first level of treatment of the mind, and then Jnana Yoga is going to further cure the disease of samsara. You see, lately I have been in contact with some beautiful texts that I discovered in videos. I don't share with you guys because somebody somewhere in the world has turned these words of different kinds of masters or gurus or teachers, uh, most of them not from our sampradaya. And there is a lot of beautiful truths and romantic, poetic truths, and so on. And I enjoy all of that, but I enjoy not being misled because poetry is beautiful. The romantic love towards God is beautiful, but you need to be a yoni not to misunderstand that the beauty behind all of that and turn that into an experience that you need to have in order to know God. So no, you know God by knowledge, and then you're going to experience love. Love is the only cure for everything. You want love, you need to learn how to love. And the best way to learn how to love is to love God. So how to do that? Kama Yoga. From this advice, we come to know one important thing. Krishna says every human being should practice vairagya or equanimity in favorable and unfavorable situations. From this one idea becomes clear. What is the idea? Every human being will have both favorable and unfavorable experience. There are no scriptures teaching a method to avoid papam, unfavorable situations, because it's impossible. No, but if I become the pure soul in the universe, so pure, godlike soul. So, but it's still I am here in this dimension. So there is no way that Papa will visit me. No, this is a total misunderstanding. This is the realm in which you experience Punya Papa. We're going to exhaust papas from many, many other lifetimes as well. Not to say that our personal papa is part of the circumstantial papa of my country, my city, my town, which is part of the universal karma of humanity. So when there is a bad karma for the entire humanity, the bad karma is reaching us as well. There is no way we can avoid Papa. Not to say about beautiful souls such as Ramana being visited with a painful cancer. So there is no scripture who is going to teach people to attract only punya. There are a lot of people, false gurus, suggesting that to be possible. Do this and do that, and you're gonna go in a certain dimension which you're gonna experience only, beautiful things. Then, if we cannot control our situations, so we need to learn to making any situations okay. I cannot conform every situation to my likes, but I can make my mind strong enough so that I could turn any situations into okay situations received with love, devotion, reverence, and gratitude. Swam again reminds us that even great kings, great sage, dharmic people, Dharma, Putra, avatars, and so on, they experience a lot of difficult situations. If they themselves experience papan as well, how about me? This ordinary human being. If there will be such a remedy to avoid problems of life, papans of mind, of life, then Allah would not have sorrow. And then these people would not have sorrow. Kings would not have sorrow, and so on. Life is a mixture of punya and papa, pleasure and pain. Why did Ishvara keep punya papa coming? Why did Ishvara keeps them? Because according to Ishvara and our scriptures, which come from Ishvara, the spiritual growth requires punya papa. Suffering also, according to Ishvara and the scripture, spiritual growth requires suffering as well. In fact, spiritual growth is is a force that moves us more than just Papan is a force that compels us to remove that by understanding why I'm suffering. Therefore, it's more powerful in helping us to evolve than pleasures. If we would be just swimming in pleasure 24/7, we would not make any effort to improve upon ourselves because life is good. Life is wonderful. No? But that is not the case because it's impossible. Even if someone experiences a good, let's say, material punya lifestyle, born in a rich family and so on. Oh, not only that, the family is a spiritual family and so on. Oh, that's good. So everything is going for this person. And the person is only enjoying its good karma. Yeah? But then the person gets older, gets sick, starts suffering disease, and then suffering later on the perspective of losing the body. And the person was enjoying life so badly that did not grow a spirit to handle with old age, illness, and death. So how to deal with this ultimate loss of life? So we need to have this small loss of life before so that we start understanding the game and say, oh, I had to get strong here because there's no way I'm going to win here. Like Ramji used to say, there is no way you want to win here, In the end, is all the time is going to be a zero-sum result. Vedanta is going to teach us to maintain equanimity before all opposites. And as Swami has anticipated, the method is called Karma Yoga. In the highest stage of this process of spiritual development, we have Jnana Yoga. We have to remember that traditionally speaking, in our sampradaya, in our tradition, there are only two yogas. One is Karma Yoga and the other is Jnana Yoga. Karma Yoga is a yoga involving actions. Actions may be mental, verbal, or physical actions. And the Jnana Yoga involves contemplating upon some knowledge with the aim of understanding, assimilating, and internalizing that knowledge, retaining that love. So there are two yogas of doings and yogas of contemplation with the goal of understanding the final teachings of Vedanta. And so I'm often present this in a beautiful, simple example. Say, so if you're bleeding in a car accident or whatever, you go to the first aid emergency room now, and then there's no time to take you anywhere. They go there, and then they are going to stop the bleeding, and then later on they take you to the treatment area of a certain hospitals to treat the problem on a deeper level, on its root level. But first you have to stop the bleeding. So Kama Yoga is the first aid method to produce peace of mind, of removing mental disturbance. You do that by living Kama Yoga. It's difficult to say uh, being a Kama Yoga is okay, Kama Yoga, or practicing Kama Yoga, but it has to be our very lifestyle. You live this knowledge because you develop this vision of Ishvara as the Kama Paladata, and Ishvara as the system in which we operate. So Jnana Yoga is a permanent method of getting permanent peace. Again, here, then there is a permanent treatment, a permanent peace, but this peace is not a peace without any modification. Again, we have to remember the peace of we get from ajñanam is not a peace of the deep samadhi yogis, that they go into Nirvikalpa Samadhi and they experience that peace. There is no modification, there is no even meditator and meditation and object of meditation. We'll talk about Samadhi Yoga, Samadhi, Sahaja Samadhi, natural Samadhi. The mind is pacified by the means of Jnanam. So the mind does not forget this knowledge, and that somehow avoids the mind to have any painful reaction to things that are mithya, and the mind is well established in satya, the light of consciousness, illumining and revealing the mithya experience in this world. So one is the Kama Yoga method, the other is the Jnana Yoga method. To put in a nutshell, we need to learn to accept every experience as Ishvara Prasada. And we need to get an understanding that allows us to accept everything that we cannot send back, because it has already arrived. How many times we looked into that? Has already arrived. The present you cannot send back. The past you cannot send back, but you can somehow have an influence on your future. Depend on how you live your life. If you live your life from this perspective of knowledge, and then you may contribute for a better future, not only for you, but for everyone around you. Accept everything as prasada. Our Parabada is designed, custom-madely designed, custom-made or designed to our own selves, our own jivas, It's intelligent designed, especially designed for what? For make me learn something that I'm missing out. I need to learn something, and then again and again I'm stuck on the same situation, complaining. I don't accept it, This is terrible. This should not, and so on. So our Parabada is special designed so that I can learn certain things and move on. So, and then you take as a prasada because you understood. If as a child we will know that everything that your loving mother does, even if it's not really the best solution, it does, meaning the best possible benefit for the child. So the same way Ishwar is doing everything for our spiritual growth. You know? So we need to have that understanding and hold that understanding. Ishwar is not punishing me. Oh, but it's suffering. It must be a punishment. No, it's just presenting you with a situation by which you can change certain things, reorient your attitudes, words, and actions, transform them. This attitude, we should have it through our waking hours, not only at certain moments during my puja or during, my meditation. Throughout the waking hours, I should keep this knowledge, this attitude, this equanimity, this peaceful mind. This is application or remembrance of Karma Yoga. The entire second line is one value, and that value is the core or the essence of Karma Yoga. So far, Krishna has pointed out that you should maintain equanimity, but he did not give the method. Swami says, I told you the method, and immediately he's so careful with his words. And then he immediately corrects himself. No, I'm not told you. I'm just remind you what the third chapter of the Gita tells. Is prasada bhavana. Prasada means gift coming from the Lord. In other words, is a prasada from the Lord. And then this concept is very beautiful. Why is it called prasada? It's called prasada because it produces peace of mind. But how so? It's impossible. It is such an adversity. It's something so bad. It's a tragedy. How could I say it is prasad? He says it is prasad, but you're gonna experience it as prasada to the degree that you develop devotion and trust and understanding that it's up to each one of us to convert adverse circumstance into prasad, into peace of mind. Because if we have the understanding slash attitude of reverence, love, devotion, and gratitude, which requires great understanding of the Shwara system, if we have that, and then even adverse situations is going to be taken as a gift of the Lord. And then when is the gift come from the Lord? It's coming from the transformation that I gain through the process of devotion, of love, reverence, which depends on understanding the nature of this Lord as the supreme intelligence. So prasad means mental tranquility, tranquility of the mind. And it appears to be a contradiction, but it's not, because the devotion is going to allow the mind to experience tranquility, even if prarabdha is difficult, painful, unfavorable. It's on our side to turn things as prasada because of our devotions. It gives you a tranquility to receive that as prasada. I mean, we can see how profound Karma Yoga is and how difficult it is for someone to become a Karma Yogi, because the devotion has to be so high that somehow these small sufferings of life do not shake our reverence, love, and devotion. Devotion is deeply established so that one has a sense of fulfillment and peace and security, even when situation is really difficult. Mental tranquility coming from Kama Yoga, coming from this profound understanding of the nature of the Lord and the nature of this relationship between Jivatma and Ishvara, and then your mind is settled in tranquility, in equanimity, understanding that every experience serves a purpose. The purpose is to purify the soul, and to the extent that the soul has developed this love, reverence, and appreciation to the Lord, more and more the bitter fruits of life are going to taste sweet. Everything is a present, a gift coming from the Lord. But this is possible only if I have great devotion to the Lord. Without devotion to the Lord, Karma Yoga is impossible. So many people believes that Karma Yoga is just the science, simple science which established the logic that you have a certain control over your actions, but no control over the results. And then, okay, the rationale is already clear in my mind. There is no need for devotion. So I accept things that I cannot change, and I try to avoid attachment, no expectations for those things that I cannot control. I understood logically everything. I'm good to go. No, you're not good to go. Because Kama Yoga without devotion is impossible. Because what's going to allow us to take things as prasad is the love, appreciation, devotion that is going to convert the bitter result, the bitter fruits, the difficult parabadas in gifts from the Lord. It requires tremendous devotion, which requires tremendous purification and a profound understanding of the nature of this relationship between Jivatma and Ishvara. Isn't it like that, Mark?
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. Yeah. Even without devotion, why would I do dharmic actions? Do you know what I mean? So even that is part of it as well. Because I've got devotion for the Lord and I know the Lord and I love the Lord, I do dharmic actions.
Right.
So even in that respect, karma yoga is impossible without
Yeah,
devotion to God.
absolutely. Good point. So if I don't understand this relationship, if I don't have devotion, love, and appreciation for loving God and its system, which is the Dharma structure, so why to bother to make such a big effort to maintain Dharma and to live a Dharmic life? I can as well just enjoy my desires, my sense pleasures, and going for experience what I want at any cost. But if I understand the relationship, I develop appreciation for the system, appreciation for Ishwar. Nicely put. It's only because of our devotion we have a mind which is pacified in spite of unfavorable circumstance. The tranquility is not coming from the unfavorable circumstance, but from the mind who has developed inner tranquility even before adverse situation. Where is the prasada coming? Prasada is coming in between, between the mind of the devote and Ishvara and its parabada being delivered. So there is an understanding of this relationship that produce mental tranquility in spite of the nature of the parabada. This prasada bhavana is possible only if I have devotion to the Lord. Without devotion to the Lord, Kama Yoga does not exist. That's why Dayananda Swami repeatedly says there is no Kama Yoga separate from Bhakti Yoga, and there is no Bhakti Yoga separate from Kama Yoga. Because Kama Yoga exists and is possible only for a person who has got devotion to the Lord, and therefore Kama Yoga is itself a certain level of Bhakti Yoga, only because Kama Yoga must have intense devotion to the Lord. The Kama Yoga must have intense devotion to the Lord. Otherwise, how would a person should accept the extreme sufferings of life if there is no appreciation, understanding, reverence, and ability to take things, knowing that it's signalizing as what needs to be changed in terms of our attitudes, words, and deeds. Therefore, Dayana say there is no question of a secular Kama Yoga without touching the Lord. If you ask whether you can practice Kama Yoga, one has to say no. If you don't go into your relationship with the Lord and develop the appreciation for the Lord as the Creator, doing everything for us 24/7, delivering us what we deserve, and so on. If you don't have that level of understanding, appreciation, gratitude, and reverence, you will never be able to practice Kama Yoga. But somehow, some people, they believe that now, once you got the rationale of Kama Yoga, you already over Kama Yoga, and you can go directly into Jnana Yoga. So Kama Yoga without devotion is impossible. And without Kama Yoga, Jnana Yoga is just delusional. It's impossible. Atheists cannot be a Kama Yogi. Kama Yoga presupposes trust, love, and reverence towards God. So how can be atheist? No? This reminds me of Buddhism, because most of the expression of Buddhism do not include any God. There is no God. There is no Ishvara. There is no Creator. There is nothing. But yet they talk so much about living a dharmic life. In the lines of what Marx said, So all these people who reject God, yet they believe that they must live a perfect life, observing Dharma and so on, It's very difficult because your success will depend on your love and faith and trust in Ishvara. And if you reject Ishvara, so things are much more difficult because you don't have the element of devotion. Devotion is human nature, a human emotion being, I would say, sublimation of a human emotion to produce love. Everybody enjoys the experience of love, love, but everybody is going there begging to be loved. Loved by whom? By other people. No? But if you want to get love, you need to learn how to love God. And that is devotion. You want to have the emotion of being loved, begin by loving, but to love others before you need to love God, because loving God fundamentally, essentially, is going to be loving the self. And then you're going to love everyone. That's the goal. But if one is an atheist, is a contradiction to imagine that the person can really live a dharmic life. And then Swami says that faith in God, trust in God, understand of the nature of Saguna God. And of course, Karma Yoga does not know the ultimate nature of God. He's just explaining, we are talking about Saguna God here. If he would know the true nature of Saguna God as Nirguna Brahman, he would not be practicing Karma Yoga. No? But even a Jnani, although Jnani does not need to practice Karma Yoga, it has a total trust in the Ishvara system. It has a total love, appreciation, reverence, and devotion to Ishvara, Saguna Ishvara, because we all live, we keep living, we see this order which is handled by Ishvara, Saguna Ishvara. So even the Jnani has a feeling of devotion, although the Jnani does not need to practice it, because the practice of Karma Yoga was done with the aim of developing certain qualifications or purifications to allow the assimilation of the teachings in regards to Nirguna Brahman, the true nature of Saguna Ishvara, the true nature of Jiva Atma. So Karma Yoga does not know the true nature of the self, but it learned to love Ishvara and to have trust in the Creator, understanding that this is beautifully, intelligently designed with a purpose. The purpose is to push us towards spiritual development and freedom. If a Karma Yogi knows the true nature of Ishvara as Nirguna Brahman, he is no longer said to be a Karma Yogi, but a Jnani. So he has got his own concept of God in any form. So a Karma Yogi is someone who is related to God, is something other than the self, his own self, and it does relate either as a deity or as Vishvarupa, Ishvara, the totality of all names and forms. So there is this love and reverence and appreciation and devotion towards the Creator, which is not cancelled once you get Atmajnanam. You remain on that level, you are grateful and you are devotee of the Lord, but you no longer practice that aiming to get something which could be benefits during this life, or just spiritual refinement or mental refinement and mental purification, because the Karma Yoga is the one who is done with want to have punya or benefits here or thereafter, but he wants mental preparedness to get Atmajnanam. So Jnani got already Atmajnanam. He's not doing anything as a means for gaining anything else. That's what Swami is trying to say. He's beyond devotion towards Ishtadevata and even towards Ishvara as the totality or Ishvara as the supreme intelligence or Lord. The Swami is seen through all Namarupas, including the Vishvarupa vision of Ishvara as the total universe, even as the subtle supreme Sattvaguna intelligence that holds this universe in place. Jnani sees through and understands that this is all a superimposition upon Nirguna Brahman, the true nature of Saguna Ishvara, which is, by the way, the true nature of everything. Therefore, Krishna wants to say, without bhakti yoga, Karma Yoga is not possible, and therefore, Arjuna, Mahi Bhaktihi is the next important virtue. So Mahi means me. Me means Ishvara. So be a devote of me as Ishvara, as Saguna Ishvara. And what type of devotion should be? Swami says we're going to see in the next file. And Swami does a recap. Let's go through a bit of this recap here. The virtues we have seen, it's a long list, goes from verse number 8 to 12. they were all combined in one single paragraph. Again, towards the end, the 12th verse, let's say, Krishna was emphasizing the importance of bhakti, a devotion, as one of the most important virtue. Spiritual knowledge is not possible without the devotion, without the purity. The ego needs to be purified so that it gets out of the way, and that is done by resolving itself in Ishvara, by loving and appreciating Ishvara and everything it represents, it does to us, although Ishvara is not a doer. So we need to have an atmosphere of devotion so that the ego, the ahamkara, may purify itself. Purify what? Which is pride and vanities and arrogance. The sense of it's all about me. I am this. I am now a Mahatma. I'm this. I'm that. We have to allow this hamkara to melt away, and the heat that's going to melt away the hamkara is the heat of devotion, love towards God. Jnana yoga is possible only in an atmosphere of devotion. That's why in the 12th chapter we saw that Kama Yoga will develop only in an atmosphere of devotion. Upasana yoga also will develop in an atmosphere of devotion. In the 12th chapter, Kama Yoga, devotional yoga or Bhakti Yoga was presented as the highest sadhana, but at the same time, Swamiji was presenting the concept that we also present in our sampradaya, that is, it's not a path in itself, but it is a virtue, a quality without which, Kama Yoga is not going to work, Upasana Yoga is not really going to work, and much less Jnana Yoga. So we need to have this atmosphere, this spirit, this attitude of human emotion, which is a transformation of our stupid emotions derived by our success and failures in attaining what we desire, producing all kinds of emotions. Now we have transformed all those energies that move us through life, emotions, into an energy of love towards God, which is the highest and the fastest way to purify the ahamkara. So the atmosphere of Bhakti Yoga is fundamental. Jnana Yoga is possible only when there is this devotion. That's why in the 12th chapter, Krishna has named each yoga as Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, as we have seen. So it's another way to present it. Seen from devotion, from love towards God. So there are several stages by which I experience devotion. Seen from the standpoint of our sadhanas itself, devotion is the background, is the environment on which I do my sadhanas in whatsoever stage of sadhanas. Lord does not have any form of its own. Lord is formless. Lord can be invoked through any particular form that we like, we know, we have seen, we have heard repeatedly, we understand the concept of a God limited by a certain name, form, and certain attributes. This is the stage 1 of in this relationship between the creature and the creator. And then Swami reminds us of the different kinds of devotion. The Artha Bhakti, Atarthi Bhakti, Jnana Bhakti, and Yani Bhakti. So, four types of devotion. The first one is the most basic, you know, is practiced only by. First thing, he makes a point here that all these devotions as a sadhana practice, they are designed for ajñanis, not for jnanis, okay? Those are practices that are going to help the ajñani to develop the qualifications to receive and retain antimiyana. So he's doing all those different stages of sadhanas with in an environment of devotion, so that he can develop the qualifications. Therefore, jnani bhakti is ruled out, okay? So because he presents four types of bhakti, and the last one is jnani bhakti. Jnani bhakti is not a sadhana or an attitude aiming to gain something, because everything we do will depend on this atmosphere of devotion. But once you're yani, you no longer does anything, aiming to gain anything, because what you want to gain, what you want to achieve, which is Atmiyana, was already achieved. But the yani can keep doing this to get more purification and refinement until the yani becomes a saint. The yani does not think in that terms, okay? The yani leaves it all to Ishvara. So, Lord, I know my imperfections, I know my limitations, I leave it all to you. I keep you in mind, but not with the goal of becoming better. The knowledge I was meant to gain, I gained. And now I allow you to purify the soul so that I may not come back anymore. But if you decide to bring me back, I will take it as prasad. O Purnamadam Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Okay. Namaste.
So lovely class. Thank you.
Yeah, I enjoyed as well. We meet tomorrow. Are we good? Thank you. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks, Alinda. See you tomorrow. God bless.